sane future for Northern Ireland, and it is in that sense that I brought forward these documents. Now I'll take two more questions. Yes, gentleman here.
Mr. John Van Irish Independent. As I understood it at the earlier press conference, you said that the operational sequence of the triple lock mechanism wasn't open for discussion. In a document which both you and Taoiseach said where everything was open to discussion, are there any other matters which are not open to discussion?
No, I said I had no plans to change it. If the political parties were to come to me collectively and ask me to change it, then of course I'm open to what they have to say, but I have no plans to change the fact that the logical way forward is for political parties to agree, public to agree, Parliament to agree. Now, I would be astonished if people were going to come to me and say, well, Parliament should agree first and pass legislation, and then we'll try and persuade people to agree with what Parliament has legislated. I don't think it is remotely likely that people in Northern Ireland are going to suggest that to me. So, but of course, I'm open to options, but I don't expect that. I think the logical progression is the one that I've set out, and I have no plans to change it. Other people suggest to me there's a different way. I cannot have said often enough this morning that we are open to constructive suggestions. Isn't a blueprint. We know what the destination is. Everybody knows what the destination is in terms of securing Northern Ireland's democratic and peaceful future. If other people have a different route to that destination, I am entirely willing to discuss that route. Now, the last question, the gentleman in the blue shirt.
Jim Mallie and his colleagues have suggested in recent weeks that their understanding this queue comes to an end, that they can and the road you're going on unacceptable. Are you genuinely prepared to, as I said, call this bluff and possibly put the future of your government on the line?
I'm not seeking confrontations or disagreements with anyone. I have spent a great part of the last 4 years that I've been Prime Minister trying to find a way forward that will carry all the people of Northern Ireland with them towards the sort of future that people enjoy as a matter of routine in every other part of the United Kingdom. Now, I happen to believe, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, it is my responsibility to do that in Northern Ireland. If the mayhem that has been here in Northern Ireland for the last 25 years had been in Surrey or Hampshire or Sussex, I don't think people would have found that acceptable. I have to say to you, as Prime Minister of a United Kingdom which includes Northern Ireland, I find it no more acceptable here in Northern Ireland. And that is why I think it is my responsibility to carry these things forward. I'm not seeking to do it in confrontation with any political leader of any party. I want to bring them with me. But I do hold rather strongly to the view that it is my responsibility, that it is my duty, and also it is my wish to see if I can find a way forward, and I propose to continue to do that. Now, I think we will have to stop there. Thank you all very much. I haven't got the document with me now.
And there we have the second of this morning's press conferences with Prime Minister John Major, and at the Balmoral Conference Centre, listening to all that's been going on this morning, and of course getting a couple of questions in there himself, Eamon Mallie. Eamon, your reaction to this morning's performances by Messrs Major and Britton?
Well, I think that Mr. Major, indeed, has probably stepped on a few toes here this morning on a number of issues. Clearly, he believes that any locally elected assembly needs some sort of watchdog there, a number of people to almost keep an eye on what's going on, checks and balances, very much written into the text there. On the other hand, the question of Articles 2 and 3, the decision or the commitment from John Bruton and the Irish government to deal with the jurisdiction claim over Northern Ireland, I think may unnerve and unsettle people like Bertie Ahern. I don't think that he quite expected that the Irish government would be going as far as they said in this particular document. But the bottom line is, all of this is subject to a referendum in the South. It has to be debated, according to Mr. Bruton. That's Articles 2 and 3, which claim jurisdiction over Northern Ireland in the Dáil, and then would have to go to the people. And it may well be that the people would not necessarily vote for it at the end of the day, unless there was a very, very serious package in the making. Of course, everything is down to what the balance would be. Mr. Bruton's argument is giving way on Articles 2 and 3 would be compensated through cross-border bodies. And I think those cross-border bodies and extent of those bodies and the scope of those bodies are exactly the sort of things which are unnerving unionism. Because I think the consensus among the media here is, at this point in time, against the backdrop of what Mr. Major said in terms of the framework document, is that there is a green tinge, another green tinge in this document. And if you go back to Sunningdale, if you go back to the Anglo-Irish Agreement, if you go back to the Downing Street Declaration and look at this framework document, there is a belief among unionists that this is giving each time a more enhanced role to Dublin in the affairs of Northern Ireland. Now, that has to again be caveated with the declaration by Mr. Major in the last few moments. He said, "I am not a persuader for a united Ireland. I am a unionist, but I want unionists and nationalists to live in peace." He was very unambiguous about that. But even that commitment and declaration from the Prime Minister, I doubt, will placate unionism. Furthermore, on the local assembly, he has proposed both a legislative and executive assembly. Now, the unionist parties were bringing forward plans recently in the last few days, particularly the Ulster Unionist Party, for an administrative assembly, because Mr. Mallie holds to the view that elevating and building two higher powers into an administration will ultimately militate against that particular assembly, whereas he believes you've got to build it brick by brick. So it would appear that the government's plans for a local assembly are more advanced than possibly the local parties are actually espousing or aspiring to at this point in time.
Eamon Mallie, it's been a fascinating morning. No doubt there's going to be much reaction as the day goes on and as people get to read the fine print of the documents, as you indeed will have to do as well. Any initial feeling, a gut reaction as to how the performances have gone down this morning generally?
I think that in terms of the government's perception of how things have gone, I think Mr. Major feels quite pleased. I think that he's still got to get feedback on what's being said on the ground. I think he was taken aback by my description of the reaction of people like Ken McGuinness and Ian Paisley when I said they were fulminating on air. I heard them with my own ears. I listened to them regularly, and they did not sound like happy men. So I think Mr. Major will gradually get that message. He was hoping that he wouldn't get that message. He's talking about the need for mature thinking, mature passing of time, etc., for people to work out just what is there and what isn't contextually, etc. But he seems, I think, he's assuming a little bit too much, I think, about the unionist opinion in Northern Ireland. I think he's probably putting too much emphasis on what people will do. Somebody pointed out that in the past, people boycotted Westminster, they went back, they sought a mandate, and they were re-elected. That being the vice of unionism. So I think Mr. Major has some problems on the horizon. He didn't talk about Plan B. I wonder what Plan B is if all this falls flat.
Eamon, thank you very much indeed for your work at the Balmoral Conference Centre this morning. Thank you very much indeed. And we'll have the news, and of course dominated by those conferences this morning, coming your way at 12 o'clock. But now it's back to Johnny Hero.
In the Belfast Telegraph, the first full details of the framework document. Your chance to read about the plans for a Northern Ireland Assembly. Plus, our award-winning news team brings you reports, analysis and commentary on this historic day and its implications for the future. The full framework document, first in today's Belfast Telegraph.